All right, apes. This is the best scene in King Lear. Absolutely the best scene. Act 2, Scene 2. Seems that way in a lot of Shakespeare plays. Like Act 2, Scene 2 in Romeo and Juliet is the balcony scene. Interesting. All right, so Kent and Oswald come to Gloucester's castle. And remember, Kent is there delivering a message from Lear. Oswald is there delivering a message from Goneril, and they meet up. And remember, in Act 1, Kent messed with Oswald, and Oswald didn't like that. And then remember, this is Kent in disguise. This is Caius Kent. So here we go. They come together, both of them, meeting at the same place in front of Gloucester's house. Good dawning to thee, friend. Art of this house? Aye. Whereway we set our horses? In the mire. Prithee, if thou lovest me, tell me. I love thee not. Why, then, I care not for thee. If I had thee in Lipsbury pinfold, I would make thee care for me. Dost thou use me thus? I know thee not. Fellow, I know thee. What dost thou know me for? A knave, a rascal, an eater of broken meats, a base, proud, shallow, beggarly, three-suited, 100-pound, filthy, worsted-stocking knave, a lily-livered, action-taking whoreson, glass-gazing, super-serviceable, finical rogue, one trunk-inheriting slave, one that wouldst be a bawd in a way of good service and art nothing but the composition of a knave, beggar, coward, pander, and the son and heir of a mongrel bitch. One whom I will beat into clamorous whining if thou deniest the least syllable of thy addition. Whoa! That's awesome. Kent is letting him have it. He knows Oswald is awful. We all know Oswald is awful. So this is one of Kent's really famous lines. So we're going to highlight in yellow. And he is just letting him have it. You are awful. I hate you, Oswald. We hate Oswald too, right? Why, what a monstrous fellow art thou, thus to rail on one that is neither known of thee nor knows thee. What a brazen-faced varlet art thou, to deny thou knowest me. Is it 2 days ago since I tripped up thy heels and beat thee before the king? So then he draws his sword. Shh, draw, you rogue, for though it be night, yet the moon shines. I'll make a sop of the moonshine of you, you whoreson, culling barbermonger. Draw! Away! I have nothing to do with thee. Draw, you rascal! You come with letters against the king and take vanity, the puppet's part against the royalty of her father. Draw, you rogue, or also carbonado, you shanks. Draw, you rascal, come your ways. All right, we're going to highlight some stuff. Draw, you rogue, right here. And then we're going to do come with letters against the king. There we go. So Oswald starts running away. Help, ho, murder, help! Strike, you slave! Stand, rogue! Stand, you neat slave! Strike! And he starts like beating Oswald with the back of his sword. Help, ho, murder, murder! So Edmund comes in with his rapier drawn. Cornwall, Regan, Gloucester servants. Everybody starts up. How now? What's the matter? Part! With you, goodman boy, with you, please, come. I'll flesh you. Come on, young master. Weapons? Arms? What's the matter here? Keep peace upon your lives. He dies that strikes again. And he has the authority to do that, right? Because he's the authority here. He's king. What is the matter? Regan says, the messengers from our sister and the king. What is your difference? Speak. I am scarce in breath, my lord. No marvel, you have so bestirred your valor, you cowardly rascal. Nature disclaims in thee, a tailor made thee. Thou art a strange fellow, a tailor make a man? A tailor, sir, a stone cutter or a painter could not have made him so ill, though they had been but 2 years o' the trade. Speak yet, how grew your quarrel? This ancient ruffian, sir, whose life I have spared at suit of his great peer. Thou whoreson Zed, thou unnecessary letter. My lord, if you will give me leave, I will tread this unbolted villain into mortar and daub the walls of a jakes with him. Spare my grey beard, you wagtail. Peace, sirrah. You beastly knave, know you no reverence? Yes, sir, but anger hath a privilege. Why art thou angry? That such a slave as this should wear a sword, who wears no honesty. Such smiling rogues as these, like rats, oft bite the holy cords a twain, which are too entrenched to unloose smooth every passion. So we're going to highlight some of this. He really does not like Oswald. He's such an awful guy. That the natures of their lords rebel, being oil to fire, snow to the colder moods, renege, affirm, and turn the Halicon. The Halicon breaks with every gale and vary of their masters, knowing not like dogs, but following a plague upon your epileptic visage. Smile, you my speeches, as I were a fool. Goose, if I had you upon Sarum Plain, I'd drive you cackling home to Camelot. So we're going to highlight some more. We're going to highlight all of this in green. This is good plot stuff. Okay, Cornwall. What, art thou mad, old fellow? How fell you out? Say that, Kent. Or say that. Then Kent says, no contraries hold more antipathy than I in such a knave. Why dost thou call him knave? What is his fault? His countenance likes me not. So I love this because he's saying, I don't like his face. That's what we would say today. No more perchance does mine, nor his, nor hers. Sir, 'tis my occupation to be plain, which we saw that in Act 1, Scene 1, didn't we? Because Kent was the one that told Lear, you got to stop. See better, Lear, is what he said. Sir, 'tis my occupation to be plain. I have seen better faces in my time than stands on any shoulder that I see before me at this instant. This is some fellow who having been praised for bluntness, doth affect a saucy roughness, and constrains the garb quiet from his nature. He cannot flatter, he. An honest mind and plain, he must speak truth, and they will take it so, if not, he's plain. These kind of knaves I know, which in this plainness harbor more craft and more corrupter ends than 20 silly ducking observants that stretch their duties nicely. Sir, in good faith, in sincere verity, under the allowance of your great aspect, whose influence like the wreath of radiant fire on flickering Phoebus' front, what meanest by this? To go out of my dialect, which you discommend so much. I know, sir, I am no flatterer. He that beguiled you in a plain accent was a plain knave, which for my part I will not be, though I should win your displeasure to entreat me to it. He's saying that Oswald is pretending. He's lying. Oswald started this. Oswald is bad. So Cornwall turns to Oswald. What was the offense you gave him? And then Oswald lies. I never gave him any. It pleased the king his master very late to strike at me upon his misconstruction, when he, compact and flattering his displeasure, tripped me behind, being down, insulted, railed, and put upon him such a deal of man that worthied him, got praises of the king for him attempting who was self-subdued, and in the fleshment of this dread exploit drew on me here again. So the big problem that we're having here is everybody thinks they're a king. Lear thinks he's a king. Goneril and Albany think that they're in charge. Cornwall and Regan think that they're in charge. There's too many kings. And so Oswald is not going to do what King Lear says. And that makes King Lear mad. And it makes Kent mad because Lear is the king. And Kent says you should respect him. But Oswald's not going to do that because Goneril is his lord, his lady. She's his boss. And so he can't respect Lear because he's been told not to. None of these rogues and cowards, but Ajax is their fool. Fetch forth the stocks, you stubborn ancient knave, you reverent braggart, we'll teach you. Sir, I am too old to learn. Call not your stocks for me. I serve the king, on whose employment I was sent to you. You shall do small respect, show too bold malice against the grace and person of my master, stalking his messenger. So we are going to highlight that in green. This is important because he's saying, don't put me in the stocks, because if you do, Lear's going to get mad at you. Fetch forth the stocks. As I have life and honor, there shall he sit till noon. Till noon? Till night, my lord, and all night too. Why, madam, if I were your father's dog, you should not use me so. Although he is her father's dog. That's ironic. Sir, being his knave, I will. This is the fellow of the self-same color our sister speaks. Come, bring away the stocks. And the stocks are brought out. Now you can see in your book, it's not in this online, on 92. On 92, you can see the stocks right there. And it's not like when we think stocks, we think of like Old West stocks where you put your head and arms through and you have to stand up all day. These are different. But if you look at that picture, that does not look comfortable. He's like sitting and he has to sit up straight. He can't, there's like no rest for his back and his feet are attached in there. That seems awful. Does not seem fun to have to be in there, those stocks. Gloucester, let me beseech your grace not to do so. His fault is much, and the good king, his master, will check him for it. Your proposed low correction is such a basest and condemnedest wretches for pilferings the most common trespasses are punished with. The king must take it ill that he, so slightly valued in his messenger, should have him thus restrained. So we're going to highlight this whole thing. And Gloucester's right, because the stocks are punishment for low-born people. When you have a nobleman like Kent, or Gaius in this case, a messenger that's sent by the king, you just talk to the king if he's being bad, and the king will take care of it, right? If I'm the king and my servant does something wrong, you just tell me and I'll punish him because I'm the king. You don't take that responsibility away from me. Cornwall, I'll answer that. Cornwall says, I'll take care of it. Don't worry. I'll talk to Lear. My sister may receive it much worth to have her gentleman abused, assaulted for following her affairs. Put in his legs. So Kent is put in the stocks. And Regan's line is interesting because she says, I don't care what my father thinks, even though he's the king. I'm worried more about what Goneril will say about this. Come, my good lord, away. So all but Gloucester and Kent exit. Gloucester says, I am sorry for thee, friend. 'Tis the Duke's pleasure, whose disposition all the world well knows, will not be rubbed nor stopped. I'll entreat for thee. And remember, we talked about Cornwall in our character study. He's a sadist. He likes to punish people. He's getting off on this. And so he's talking about everybody knows that he's kind of like this. Pray do not, sir. I have watched and traveled hard. Some time I shall sleep out. The rest I'll whistle. A good man's fortune may grow out at heels. Give you good morrow. So we're going to highlight one line in here. There we go. Then the Duke's to blame in this. 'Twill be ill taken. So then he exits. And Kent is all by himself. Good king that must approve the common saw, thou out of heaven's benediction comest to the warm sun. He takes a paper out. He says, approach thou beacon to this underglobe, that by thy comfortable beams I may peruse this letter. Nothing almost sees miracles but misery. I know 'tis from Cordelia, so the letter's from Cordelia, who hath most fortunately been informed of my obscured course, and shall find time from this enormous state, seeking to give losses their remedies. All weary and overwatched, take vantage, heavy eyes, not to behold this shameful lodging. Fortune, good night, smile once more, turn thy wheel. So he says that this letter is from Cordelia, and she says that she knows what's going on in England. It's been a little bit of time. She knows what's been going on. And then this last line here, we're going to mark in yellow because this is one of Kent's famous lines. Okay. So then he starts to sleep in the stocks. We're going to go ahead and just blow into scene 3 because it's tiny, right? It's just one set of lines. It's just Edgar. So Edgar is all by himself. So this is Edgar's soliloquy. So he comes out and he says, I heard myself proclaimed, and by the happy hollow of a tree escaped the hunt. So people were chasing him, and he found a place to hide in a tree. No port is free, no place that guard, and most unusual vigilance does not attend my taking. Whiles I may scape, I will preserve myself, and am bethought to take the basest and most poorest shape that ever penury and contempt of man brought near to beast. My face I'll grime with filth, blanket my loins, elf all my hairs in knots, and with presented nakedness outface the winds and persecution of the sky. The country gives me proof and precedent of bedlam beggars who with roaring voices strike in their numbered and mortified arms, pins, wooden pricks, nails, sprigs of rosemary, and with this horrible object from low farms, pour pelting villages, sheepcotes, and mills, sometime with lunatic bands, sometimes with prayers, enforce their charity. Poor Turley God, poor Tom, and yet something else. Edgar, I nothing am. All right, let's highlight some stuff. So we're going to highlight this down to the end of the page. Oops, not in yellow. We're going to highlight in green. This down to the end of the page in green. And then down here, we're going to underline. I know that we haven't done a lot of underlining, but we're going to underline this, Bedlam Beggars, because we need to talk about that. And then we're going to go back to our green. We're going to highlight down to here. I messed it up. Come on. All right, back to green. We're going to highlight down to here. And then in yellow, we're going to highlight this right here in yellow. Okay, so let's talk about this. Edgar's being hunted. He has to figure something out. So his thought is, I'll disguise myself. And what he's going to disguise himself as is a beggar, a Bedlam beggar. Bedlam is an insane asylum. And so he says, the country gives me proof and precedent of Bedlam beggars. And what he's saying there is in this time period, there's precedent for crazy people to be out wandering in the countryside. And what they would do, insane asylums during the day would open the doors and push all the insane people out so that they didn't have to deal with them. And if they didn't come back, they didn't come back. You know, if they do come back, all right, fine, we'll let them in. But we want them to be other people's problems. We're not going to worry about the bedlam, the insane people during the day. And so these insane people would just wander around and beg for food and money and things like that. And so he says at the end, Edgar, I nothing am. And what he's saying is, I am no longer Edgar, number one, right? I'm going to be somebody else. He's going to become this character, poor Tom. So now we have Kent in disguise, and we're going to have Edgar in disguise. Edgar's going to be poor Tom. Kent is going to be Caius. And then he says, also, Edgar, I nothing am, he's nothing anymore. He's lost everything he had before. So two meanings behind that line. Okay, so that is Act 2, Scene 2 and Act 2, Scene 3. And I'll pick it up with you next time in Act 2, Scene 4.